The exercise files for today's course are located in the video description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome to Trello Advanced. At this point, you're familiar with the basics of using Trello to manage your projects and tasks, and maybe you have some experience collaborating with other team members on a board. You've seen how Trello can help you and your project stay organized, and you've learned some best practices and tips to help you and your team work efficiently. In this course, we'll explore additional features to help that efficient and effective use of Trello grow. We'll learn how to create cards by sending an email to the board. We'll take your board to the next level with power-ups, which offer a vast array of additional functionality. And we'll explore the Trello app so you can access Trello from your mobile device. Those and other advanced features will be covered in this course. Let's get started.
Looking to support our channel and get a great deal? Become a member today to unlock ad-free videos. That's right, your favorite courses without a single ad. Interested in a specific video? Purchase one of our ad-free courses individually. Looking for even more? Gain access to exams, certificates, and exclusive content at LearnitAnytime.com. More information can be found in the video description below.
Sometimes, if you're working through your email inbox, a task might occur to you that you'd like to add to Trello. You can do this without having to go into Trello itself by simply sending an email to your Trello account. Let's take a look at how that works. First, if you don't see something regarding inbox, you might need to enable this feature by enabling beta. I'm going to try the beta experience to give this a try. In this beta experience, a feature is enabled called Inbox. You can use this icon at the bottom of the screen to view or hide your inbox. Let's take a closer look at how Inbox works. I see I have the ability to add a card here. Just like you're familiar with on boards, this card exists in this special space called Inbox. Note that if I switch to a different board, my inbox stays the same. So Inbox isn't tied to one specific board. Instead, it's tied to your Trello account. Now, we talked about emailing to your inbox. Let's see how that works. I'll click on these three dots and select Add from Email. Note that you can add a card from your inbox by emailing this special email address. That will work if you send the email from the same email address associated with your Trello account. But maybe that is not your situation, so let's take a look at another option. You can send from any email address to this specific, unique email address that is generated just for your Trello account. I'm going to copy this email address and compose an email. I'll paste it to that unique address. Now, I have in my head this idea that I need to install 8 bean poles for my bean plants in my garden. So I will enter the subject of bean poles. Install 8 bean poles, because I have 8 bean plants. Then I'll click Send. Within a few seconds, back in Trello, you'll see a new card in your inbox. I see that it has the envelope icon, which says to me that it was created from an email address. If I click on the card, I see my title, which came from the subject line, and the description, which is the body of the email. The next time I'm in Trello, I might go ahead and add that card to the relevant board. Let's go ahead and try that again with some more information in the email and perhaps some formatting. I'll go back to compose an email, sending it to this unique email address for my Trello account. And I have some tomato plants, and I need to install tomato cages to help support them as they grow. So I'll write a note to myself, install 6 tomato cages by April 20th. I want to get this done soon. And I'll note that there are several steps to this. First, I need to buy those cages. I need to choose the location of where they're going to go. I need to install them. I need to secure plants to cages as they grow to help support them even more. So I'll send that email. Switch back to Trello. And here's my card. Note that it has a deadline. Let's take a look. Due date, April 19th, 8 p.m. Trello used artificial intelligence to read my message and glean additional information out of it to put into Trello. I said that the card needed to be completed by April 20th, so Trello assigned a due date of late at night on April 19th. Note that it also took my bullet points and created a checklist. So emailing to your Trello inbox offers some pretty advanced features so that you can put some additional information and details into your email, and Trello will do a pretty good job of putting that into specific locations within the card. If you haven't yet tried this feature of emailing to your inbox, pause the video and give it a try. Remember, you might need to enable beta depending on the version of Trello that you're using. In the previous chapter, we explored how to send an email to your Trello inbox. And you might remember that the inbox is not specific to a board. It's specific to your Trello account. So your inbox applies across all the boards. In this chapter, we will take a look at how to send an email directly to a specific board. To do that, I'll click on the 3 dots in the top right corner, scroll down, and select Email to Board. Trello has generated an email address for this board. I'm looking at my vegetable garden board, so this is the email address for this specific board. I have some options about how this functionality will work. I can choose which list cards will appear when I email this address. On my board, it makes sense for cards to go to the to-do list. Those are items that I haven't started working on yet. I can choose the position of where that card should go. I'll leave bottom selected, so the card goes to the bottom of the list. Now let's give this feature a try. I'll copy the email address, go over to my email account, start a message to that address, I want to grow some sunflowers, so I'll send an email to my board to remind me to do this. I'll click back to my board, scroll down to the bottom of my to-do list, and there's my card, Sunflowers, with the subject line as the title of the card, and the body of the email showing up as the description. Let's try sending an email with some additional information and formatting. I'll click back to compose email, paste that unique email for my board, and I want to create a card about irrigation. I'm planning to grow all this stuff, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to water everything. So while I'm in my email inbox, I'll write a note to my Trello board. And I will remind myself to figure out irrigation by May 1st. And I'll note some next steps. Perhaps I need to buy a hose. I need to buy a nozzle. And I need to buy a moisture reader so I know when to water. And this is a high priority item. So I can use hashtag and then the name of one of my labels. And this will put that label right on the card automatically. I'll click send. And after a few seconds, if you go back to your board, you will see that new card. Here it is, the card for irrigation, and I see it has the high priority label. Note that a due date was not assigned, and the next steps just show up as part of my description. So the functionality that we saw in the previous chapter, where setting an email to your inbox does some pretty neat stuff, like adding checklists and due dates automatically, that functionality doesn't work when you email to the board directly. Maybe that's something the Trello will update in the future. But for now, note that the behavior is a little bit different when you email your inbox versus emailing your board directly. You still might find it useful, or you might find one more useful than the other. Trello gives you a couple of options to help you work in the way that feels right to you. Very often, the work within a board, the work between cards, are related to one another. The work from one card affects the work being done on another card. You can link the two cards together in a couple of ways. Let's take a look at that. I have one card for Build Garden Door and another one for Build Fence. The work of those is going to be kind of related because the door will sit within the context of the fence. So let me open the Build Fence card and copy this URL. Then I'll go to the Build Garden Door card, click on Attachment, and paste that URL. Then click Insert. Note that the Build Fence card is now an attachment. I can click on it, and that brings me right to the Build Fence card. Now, I actually want this to be a two-way relationship. Let me go back to Build Garden Door. I'll click on these three dots below that attachment that I just added and select Connect Cards. Trello is asking me if I want to relate both cards. Yes, I do. Now, when I click through to the Build Fence card, I see another attachment on that card to go back to Build Garden Door. So now I have a two-way relationship between these cards. And that can be useful for the people working on these cards when they want an at-a-glance view of what's going on to some related work, and also the ability to quickly jump over to that other card. You can also link to other boards. So let me switch to a different board, say my cookbook board, and copy that URL. I'll go back to my vegetable garden board, and maybe I'm going to use some sunflower seeds in one of my recipes. So I will add as an attachment a link to that board. And there it is. Note that when I add another board as an attachment, I don't see an option to create that two-way connection. That's something that just works for cards within the same board. But depending on the card that you're working on, it could be useful to take advantage of this feature where you link directly to another board. Note that when you mouse over it, you can open a preview of it for an at-a-glance view of what's going on with that board. Take a look at your board and your cards and see if it's useful to create a two-way connection between any of the cards, and maybe to see if it's useful to link to another board. Give it a try. Trello offers a number of keyboard shortcuts to help you be super productive. Let's take a look at some shortcuts that work while you are viewing a board. From any board, click B to open the board menu. Use the arrow keys to navigate across your boards and click Enter to open that board. I'll go back to my garden board by clicking B, using arrow keys to select it, then click Enter. The arrow keys also work within the board to navigate across cards. When you've selected a card that you'd like to open, click Enter. That'll open up the card. Click Escape to close the card. When a card is selected, I can use the keyboard shortcut to copy it, Control-C on Windows or Command-C on a Mac. And I can click somewhere else on my list to paste it, Control-V or Command-C. Now I have a copy of that card. Another thing you can do when you've copied a card, again, I've selected one, Control-C to copy. If I mouse over another card and use keyboard shortcuts to paste, Control-V or Command-V, note that this card now is an attachment. If I open it, I can see that the card that I pasted is now attached. Some other keyboard shortcuts that work when you're viewing a board. Click F. This will open up the filter menu. From here, I can apply filters such as overdue to only see the overdue items. Clicking X will clear those filters. And a super helpful shortcut is Q. Type Q to filter to just the cards that are assigned to you. And again, you can clear those filters by clicking X. Let's take a look at some shortcuts that work within a card. To add yourself to a card, hit the spacebar. Note that you are now a member of this card and you are watching it. To make a due date, click D. To open the labels, click L. You can also apply labels using the number shortcuts that correspond to the sequence of your labels. So for me, typing 1 applies the label of grow. Typing 2 is my second label, which is medium. I will click L again to remove those labels. Sometimes, if you've been using Trello for a while, you might note that sometimes you forget to click Save. Or maybe you've added a lot of text and forgot to click Save. You can get into the habit when writing comments of using Control Enter as you type, which will save your edits right then. Which of those was your favorite shortcut? Go ahead and give it a try on your board. Trello offers lots of functionality to help you and your team be productive. Trello also offers additional functionality in the form of power-ups. Power-ups are add-on features that extend what Trello can do in all kinds of ways. Some power-ups are developed and supported by Trello, and some are offered by third-party developers. Let's take a look at how to enable a power-up, and we'll add a few that I have found helpful on my boards. To access power-ups, click on the three dots in the top right corner, scroll down, and click Power-ups. There are many power-ups to explore here. Some are listed under Featured, some are listed under Made by Trello, and there are various categories to help you find power-ups that might be relevant for your project. The name of the power-up that I want to use is Pin Card. What this power-up does is allows me to pin cards to the top of the list. We'll take a look at how that might be useful. I'll click Add, read some information about it, confirm by clicking Add again. I can read some information about this card, and when I'm ready, close this window. This card is useful for pinning a card to the top of a list. I've seen this implemented really well when the top of the list includes some instructions about how this list should be used. So for example, I might add a card called Definition of Done. And I might add some details here that explain what it means for this board when a card is done. I'll click Pin Card, which is a new option now that I've enabled this power-up. I'll pin this card. And now it's at the top of my list. If someone tries to move it, it'll go right back here and stay there. That's an example of one power-up. Let's add another one called Card Aging. I'll go back to my power-ups menu. I'll search for it, Card Aging. Click Add. Note this one, I don't need to take a second step to add it. Note that you can also review the settings here. I'll close this power-up window. And what this power-up does is add some visual clues about the age of a card. I can see some of these look old and weathered. That means nothing has happened on this card in some time. They're getting stale. This tells me that someone needs to get going on these. Or maybe they need to get broken up into smaller tasks so that the project can move along. Voting can be useful when you have many or several people working on a board. This power-up enables the vote feature. People can express their support for a card. This is useful when there are many items on the to-do list and you're wondering, what's the most important? What should we tackle next? Voting can help clarify which ones there is support for. Finally, let's enable the power-up for Google Drive. This is one of the most popular power-ups. The Google Drive power-up creates a strong integration between Google Drive and Trello. With this power-up enabled, I see a Google Drive option on a card. I can click on it and attach a file from my Google Drive. There it is under Links. From here, I can click right into that Google Doc and find additional information that's going to be relevant for whoever is doing the work on this card. Another neat feature about this power-up is you can create a file right from Trello. I can create, say, a Google Sheet and go ahead and start editing it. And now it's linked right to my card. So those are a few power-ups that I have found useful. Again, there are hundreds to choose from. You can connect Trello with Slack or Jira, all kinds of external tools. Take a look and see if there are any power-ups that might be relevant for your board. Go ahead, explore them, and give them a try. In the previous chapter, we explored power-ups, add-on features that extend Trello functionality. If you ever need to change any of your power-up settings, you can do that by accessing the power-up menu. Click the three dots in the top right, scroll down, and click Power-Ups. Click Enabled to see all of the power-ups that are currently enabled for your board. Click Settings on any of the power-ups to change those settings. For example, my card aging setting currently is in pirate mode, which makes the older cards look crackle and teared. I can switch that to regular mode, and we'll see how that changes the appearance. You can also disable power-ups at any time by, again, clicking on Power-Ups, clicking on Enabled, click Settings, and choose to disable. You can choose whether to keep that power-up data, which might be useful, especially if you think you might re-enable that power-up sometime, or simply click Disable Power-Up. So it's easy to modify power-up settings, add and remove them as needed. Let's take a look at some of the options for formatting text, which is useful when you are adding descriptions or comments to your cards. Some text formatting can go a long way to adding clarity. Let's start with this one. I want to grow some sunflowers. Steps are buy seeds, start seeds indoors, and transplant outside. Now this might work a little bit better with some formatting. So maybe this, I'll make a heading. These steps probably work better as a bulleted list. You can also bold text or italicize it. You can insert elements such as a mention. This allows you to tag other people so they will get notified about this comment that you're adding. A couple of special mentions, @card and @board, will send to multiple people. @card will send to all members of the card, and @board will send to all members of the board. Use these carefully. Another useful formatting option for software development teams is inserting a code snippet. Maybe I'll put a function for growing sunflowers, which takes inputs of soil, water, and sunlight. And then I can code my function here to ensure a really good sunflower. So there are all kinds of formatting options. If you haven't yet tried some of these, update one of your cards with some formatting to help add some clarity to your comments. If you use Google Chrome, you'll find lots of Chrome extensions that work with Trello. Head over to the Chrome Web Store and search Trello. You'll find lots of results. I've already installed a few. Let's take a look one by one. First, I will enable the Chrome extension for Trello Card Number Plus. If I refresh my board, I'll see that extension take effect. Each card now displays a unique number. This is the unique ID of the card within the Trello system and can be used for easily identifying which card we're talking about if I'm talking about this card with other people. This can be especially useful in software development teams, or really any kind of team context. If we refer to the card by its number, which will never change, we know we're talking about the same thing. The label, the title of a card, might change from time to time. So using the number to refer to a card ensures that we're always talking about the same thing. This extension also adds a count at the top of each list, so I can see that there are 10 cards in the to-do list and 2 cards in the doing list. Let's take a look at another extension, List Highlighter for Trello. What this extension does is visually highlights or de-highlights certain lists depending on rules that have been defined. There are some rules out of the box, and that's what we're seeing here. It looks for lists that are titled doing or something that would suggest that this is a list about things that are happening now, and it highlights it in red. And then the list that is labeled done fades into the background. This helps give visual clarity and helps me focus on the list that I need to focus on in my day-to-day work. These settings can be changed at any time from the extension settings. You can see the rules that have been defined right out of the box, and I can add additional rules, delete ones, modify as needed. Maybe I'll highlight my to-do list in orange. Let's take a look at one more extension. The Plannyway for Trello extension. This adds lots of functionality related to time tracking, dates, anything date and time related. When you go into a card, you'll see that I can track time for this card. This is useful if it's important to know how much time was spent by one or more people on any given card. This extension also comes with a full screen view of your Trello data in various views. In this view, I'm looking at a timeline organized by members, and I'm looking at today's date, and I can see what is happening and what has due dates now. I can also look in other groupings such as labels. So I can see all the stuff that is high for this week. In this case, all the things that are going on with dates for this week don't have a label. There is tons of functionality here. And right now, I'm in my trial version of this. And the paid version gives the ability to access this functionality and much, much, much more. So that's a quick look at a few different Chrome extensions that can be used to add additional functionality to your Trello board. If you use Chrome, give it a try. Head over to the Chrome Web Store, search for Trello, and explore the options. See if there's something that might be useful for you and your team. So far, we've been using Trello in a web browser. but Trello is also available as an app. I've installed the Trello app for Windows, and it should look pretty familiar to you. I see my lists with cards. I can access my inbox. I can click on a card to open it and access all the details. I can change dates. All the things you would expect to be able to do from the website, you can also do from the app. Depending upon your device, it might look different than this. On a smartphone, the dimensions are certainly going to be different, but you'll find all the same functionality in all the places where you would expect to find it. Using the Trello app allows you to use Trello on the go from wherever you are, and if you haven't yet given it a try, download the app, install it, log in, and give it a go. Thank you for joining me in this Trello Advanced course, where we've explored advanced features to help you and your team get the most out of Trello. You've learned how to create cards by sending an email to your board, and you've seen what AI can do when an email lands in your Trello inbox. You've picked up some keyboard shortcuts to supercharge your efficiency, and you've learned how you can extend the functionality of Trello with power-ups and Google Chrome extensions. Congratulations! You can now consider yourself an advanced Trello user.